everyone, and welcome to another episode of I've Been Playing. Today we're going to be taking a look at Danganronpa V3. Now obviously this is a title that has not been translated from Japanese, and despite the fact that I can't say it even though it is Japanese, it translates roughly to bullet accusation, which as you can see is why they didn't translate it in the first place. Also, what should be obvious is that it is at least the third one in the series. I have played 1 and 2. I think there are a couple of others, and I also think there's actually an anime series based off of this series of games as well, but I've only played 1 and 2 thus far. If you're not aware of what it is, obviously it's a Japanese game, and the way I generally describe it to people who are unaware of what it is that it's Phoenix Wright meets Saw, which I think personally is a pretty accurate description of the game and the gameplay. All of them start out in a similar way. You wake up in a strange place and you realize you've been kidnapped, and then the bear named Monokuma, who you may have seen around, probably the most iconic part and character of these games, shows up and tells you you have to participate in a killing game. And that is the essence of the series right there, is that you are participating in this killing game, or not like you're not trying to really, but the idea is that you're going to be participating in this and you're trying to get out of it, and when you can't get out of it and someone inevitably gets murdered, you hold trials, hence the Phoenix Wright part. Of course, there is a little bit more to it than that. I have not gotten that far into this particular one so far. I've only done the first trial, through the first trial and through the first punishment, shall we say, and I do appreciate the little twist they put at the beginning of this one. I'm not going to get into what it is because it really spoils the whole thing, as does giving anything away about anything else other than what I've already told you, but that's as far as I've gotten so far. Even so, I feel like personally, for me personally, my personal thoughts are that they are kind of declining in interest, or in my interest level in them is declining, I guess is a better way to say that. I feel like the first one was the most interesting, it was the most well done. It's almost like it's one of those things where they didn't expect it to get as popular as it did, and it did, although I imagine it would be pretty popular in Japan either way, but I feel like maybe the fact that it's been brought over here has also made it even more popular, because I know there are a lot of people who really enjoy this game. It feels like one of those ones where you either have no idea what it is, or you really enjoy it. And I am really enjoying it, and have really enjoyed all of them. That said, I do feel like the first one so far was the most fun to play. As I said, I do appreciate the opening to this one, and to be fair, that is the only part of this one I've really played. I just got past that part and have not had a chance to see the rest of the game yet, although I just have unlocked a whole bunch of new special areas, and it had a fun little nod to some other games as well, so that was kind of a fun thing. But you know, the first one was set in a school, it was kind of a new, fresh concept, it was nice. The second one was set on an island, which was a nice departure from the first game, and you had two, they weren't exactly two antagonists, well they were, kind of. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. This one you also, again, start in a school, and then there's some stuff that happens at the beginning that, again, I'm not going to get into, but you have Monokuma, but you also have his 5 children, air quotes, that are also popping in and giving comedic relief and just additional threats, really. You start this particular one as Kaede. I don't remember her last name, but that's who you start as, and, you know, you wake up in a locker, and you're like, where the hell am I? And then things happen, you learn you're in a killing game, somebody gets killed, and then the whole trial happens, and as I said, I'm not going to get any more into the story than that, because anything more than that would spoil everything. And to be honest, I think I've more or less already covered my feelings on it. As I said, I'm not too far into this. I don't know how it progresses from here. I don't know who's going to get killed next. I don't even know if there's a way to like get out of it early. I imagine there could be, or some special secret thing you can do, or maybe on a second playthrough. There's probably more nuance and variety there. There's definitely more variety in forming relationships with your fellow students, because something that I haven't really delved into very much, and I didn't in the second one, because I think the second one is the first game it showed up in, is you can kind of build your relationships with everybody in the killing game with you by, you know, spending some free time with them and or buying them presents, or some combination of the two. And I don't know if doing that has any effect on the story whatsoever, or if it just makes you feel worse if you get really close to one of them and they die. But I imagine there is some variety in that as well. There are a whole bunch of, speaking of gifts, a whole bunch of gifts to collect from not a vending machine, but a slot machine, I guess, basically. I mean, you put your coins in and you get a prize, so it's not exactly a slot machine because you're guaranteed a prize. gifts, but the number of coins you put in is directly proportional to how good the gift is, so there's a little bit of that as well. You can obviously wander around and try to check things out, go into different rooms, inspect a whole bunch of different stuff, but eventually there comes a point where, you know, someone dies and you have to go investigate the crime, because of course you do, because you want to collect as much evidence as you can for the trial. And I would say the trials are kind of the hardest part, and that's a mixture of, you know, if you have to stop the game midway through or something, you can forget stuff. There's part of that, but there's also the fact that you have to remember all that stuff, and there's also the fact that one of the things I'm disliking about this one, I found the first game fun and not too difficult. I don't think I set the difficulty settings any differently, because you can set the puzzle difficulty and the game difficulty, and I think I just put them both normal every time. But they seem so much harder now. I think it's mainly because there are so many different mechanics going on. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. Like the first game, it felt like it was fairly straightforward. It felt like it was, you know, you have your truth bullets, and that's kind of where the name of the game comes from, that you can use to refute stuff, and you can talk to people, and there were a couple of little mini games throughout, but they weren't difficult. I didn't feel like they were difficult or complicated. And the second one introduced a few more that felt difficult and complicated, but was still doable. And now the third one has like all of those on top of a couple other new ones, and I only have gotten through the first trial, and there's so much going on. And the next time I'm gonna have to do it, I'm gonna forget all of the buttons, and there's like, you can make up lies to get to the truth, which is just confusing, and then obviously you have to refute lies, and sometimes you have to agree with the truth, and then there's a mini game, and then there's another mini game, and then people are fighting, and then there's another mini game, and then everyone's talking, and there's just so much going. There's too much for my brain going on in the trials now that I can't get through them without failing. Even just the first one. So that might be my own fault for setting the difficulty somewhere I wasn't prepared for it to be, but I feel like that is part of the reason I'm not enjoying this one so much. Everything else, with the exception of some of the characters maybe, I'm enjoying about this one, and I think I might like it better than the second one. I don't know which one is my favorite. Well, I think the first one is probably my favorite. I have to reserve my final judgment for when I finish the game. But overall, so far, I am enjoying it, even though I don't think it's the best one. But those are just my thoughts on the game so far. As I said, I've only kind of just started the game. I've only gotten through the first trial. So if you have any thoughts on the game that aren't spoilers, please let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, I hope you consider subscribing. I do one of these every Monday that I'm able to, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff on my channel as well. You can check that out in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.